Hey there, hi there, ho there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you again for joining us. This is our Finny flight, as they call it, for our the Drones at Dawn podcast, and it's really bittersweet. It's been an amazing run. This is our episode number 26. So if you do the math there, I think that's a full half a year. And we've been with you guys every Monday. It's been absolutely incredible. And what a way to end this season than with Meghan Salter. Meghan is a fellow Woman to Watch award recipient. In fact, she was in my class 2019, and she won it for education. So perfect way to end this podcast and the season for our theme of education, training, and workforce development for drones than with Meghan Salter. So Meghan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
And Meghan is coming to us live from West Virginia, where she's a teacher, and I'm going to let her tell a little bit more about her background.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meghan Salter, and I live in Huntington, West Virginia. So it is where Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia meet. I've been teaching for 12 years. This is going on my 13th year. And I teach elementary gifted students. So those are the students that are working above their grade level. And I've been integrating drones into my curriculum since 2015. So that was kind of when they first started I'm coming out. So I really enjoy doing it with my students. They love it. And it's a lot of cool experiences they get to do with it.
Well, just getting drones into any classroom is so important because this is our future, right? And the workforce development you're doing at such an early age. And I know we're going to talk about that more, but I had, two boys in the gifted program when they were little, and boy, those programs really inspire the kids, especially kids that have the potential and that natural curiosity. Yeah, my one son had a NASA scientist that would come in volunteer, and in fourth grade he was learning about statistics.
Oh, that's awesome.
through like gambling.
Yeah.
but he'll never forget it, right? Like in fourth grade. That's so amazing. So thanks for what you're doing. And
thank you.
You didn't say this about yourself, Meghan, but I'm going to brag on her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So not only is she a 2019 Woman to Watch award recipient for education, but she was also the 2020 am I going to say this right?
Cabell
County Teacher of the Year, and the 2020 top finalist for the West Virginia Teacher of the Year.
Yeah.
So
it's a huge honor.
Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing. So tell us about how you got into drones in the first place.
So in 2015, I was introduced to drones. I had a friend who had been using drones. He has a media company in Huntington. And he used to be in the gifted program where I teach. And he said, I would love to come to your classroom and show your students what I do with drones. At that point, I was like, what is a drone? Because I had no idea. And I was like, is that like a flying robot? Which, kind of it is. And he came to my classroom and was showing my students about drones, and I was learning so much too, and I could just see the curiosity in their faces with things, and they were just like completely hooked. And I said, oh my gosh, I've got to get some of these for my classroom. For if anyone knows public school, you don't get funds for drones, especially not in 2015. So I had to write a lot of independent grants. So I started off with like a small $1,500 grant, and I got some of the little drones from my classroom. And since then, it has grown so much, and since then I've been able to get close to probably $30,000 for my classroom for drones and 3D printing and other types of technology.
I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the biggest challenges to not only drones in the classroom, but almost, pencils, crayons, Clorox wipes. Teachers are buying their own supplies and parents are having to contribute. This has been going on for a while, especially in public schools. We had LaQuata Sumter on our clubhouse because you couldn't make it last week, Meghan, and she was talking about how she was also able to attain some grants. She's out in
amazing.
Florida. Yeah, she is amazing. You both are in your own rights. And so let's talk for a second about that grant money, because, that is, I think, so important for people to understand that money is actually out there for teachers to help bring this technology into the classroom. And can you tell us a little bit of maybe about how, number one, you found out about it, like where do you look, and then how do you obtain these grants?
Well, if you are a teacher or just in looking at doing after school programs or anything like that, I would first start at the state level, or even local level. So one of the big things is, start off easy first and then build upon that. So like if I would try to write a huge grant for like $20,000, or whatever for this, I would not be getting it because number one, I don't know much about grant writing. I'm still learning a lot about grant writing, but start at the smaller level. So, and also there's a lot of smaller grants that you can get now for STEM education because that's huge. And integrating STEM education, especially with females, that's huge also. So if I were you, I would start small state level. I got some from the Department of Ed in West Virginia. And once you kind of build upon what you're doing with each grant that you write, you can be like, hey, look at what I've done, what I did before, and look what I did before. So the people who are reviewing the grants, they can say, oh, our money is going for something that is successful or things like that. So that would kind of be my recommendation for doing grant writing.
Oh, that's exactly actually what Laquata said is just,
Hmm.
start small, establish that you can do this, and that building that track record is really helpful to then getting more and more money in the future. So,
Yeah, and also being innovative in a way, because when I started this in 2015, number one, very few people knew about drones because the technology was just beginning with a lot of things. Number two, very few people do it in elementary, and I still think very few people are doing it in elementary. So it was a new, interesting program, and that kind of caught the attention of people who were reviewing the grant applications.
I actually, yeah, I absolutely agree with you that not a lot of drones are trickling into the elementary ed
Hmm.
classrooms. I mean, the folks I've talked to, like Laquata, I think she's at a higher level, high
Yeah.
school, college. Unmanned Safety Institute, as an example, they're targeting kind of, high school, community college.
Hmm.
One other thing, if for people out there that are or are not in education, there's a thing called Career and Technical Education, CTE, and especially even maybe at the elementary level, but definitely as you get up in education levels, there is CTE money out there at the state level, where if you can put together and show this is a workforce development program,
Hmm.
where if they can come out of school with some knowledge, education,
Yes.
maybe even a certification like a Part 107 or a safety management system certification, then that's going to help them get jobs. So that's really
Yeah.
awesome. I love what you're doing. So tell us then more about actually what you are doing in the classroom once you got the grants and you got the drones in there. What are you doing with them?
So my big push to, even though we use the Tello drones, and they are kind of toys, my big push is okay, these are toys, but we're using them for an educational tool. So my kids just are not just flying those things just to be flying them. So, and the one cool thing about using drones is you can get the kids to do whatever you want them to do to fly the drone. So, like all the boring stuff, like writing, researching, all this stuff. You tell them, well, you cannot do that until, you cannot fly the drone until you complete this other stuff because I want to show and I want to prove, hey, we're not just flying drones for fun in here. The students are learning the physics of flight. They're learning statistics, averaging, the native phonetic alphabet. They're learning about how different things are being used. And also, I really like to tie my curriculum. So I've been kind of creating it myself. So when I started in 2015, there was I saw like one thing online with drones, and I used that, and I've been building upon them since then, building my own curriculum. But I really like looking at current events that are happening. I was able to connect with somebody who did the first organ transplant via drone, transporting it from one place to another. So it was a really cool opportunity for my kids. We got to actually talk to the team who did that, but we also
Wow.
replicated it in the classroom. So the cool thing is we replicated it in the classroom, and we did it on a kid level. So I was thinking like, how can I do this to make it meaningful and important to the kids? So we kind of built upon, and I'm just like, oh, let's build our community, and let's build our community using Legos. Okay, all kids love Legos. So you've got them hooked when you have Legos. Well, let's research how this was working and how people did this. And it's a real life application and things that they could do in the future, and showing them just how much drones are helping people. So we built an entire Lego city of our community, which was meaningful for them. And then we use the drones to transport the organ from one Lego hospital to another. So again, I mean, that's kind of on an elementary level, but it gets them really interested, and it's where they need to be, and gets them interested in the technology. And it's, stuff that's happening and relevant to them, and, show them the types of things that they could do with drones or just technology in general.
Well, and we're going to watch a video here in a second
Hmm.
because your big project on Drone Olympics, I did
Hmm.
see that you're using Legos there.
Yeah.
That's also, that affects weight and balance, right? And
Yep.
how
We talk about
the
payload and
aeronautics of flying even
mhm.
a little Tello drone, you throw a couple Legos on there, it's not going to fly the same as, and just to have those conversations in the classroom at such an early age, I think is so critical. So tell us a little bit about your Drone Olympics, what it is, and then we'll roll the film.
Sure. So Drone Olympics, well, this is perfect right now with our Summer Olympics happening. So I was looking for a good project for my kids, and my friend who introduced me to drones, he was kind of my mentor that first year with grant writing and creating this. But we thought, what's a cool project that we could do? And I don't even know how it came about. It was like, what's a cool project that we could do with the kids? Let's do something called a Drone Olympics, because you have drone racing league and things like that. I was like, this is a perfect thing to do with the kids, so they kind of train all year. I do other things. I think that's what's difficult sometimes in elementary is teachers think that that's all that they can do is drones. Well, no, I fit it into a lot of different aspects of the curriculum. So but what we did was all year long, they had research drones. They put together their own drone portfolio. So like they had their biography. And whenever we had this event, we invited the community, other principals and stuff, and their parents. So we had all that stuff out there for them to see. And they're like, oh, okay, these kids are really learning a lot of things. And it's not just them playing with drones, but they got to showcase what they had learned, and they got to compete. So, kids love competing. And we had it just kind of like the real Olympics, and we had different events. Like one was, and they were all relevant to things that were happening at that time, like a precision and accuracy challenge. We talked about Amazon researching, delivering packages. So you can see all that stuff on the video. But what's really cool is, it was team building. They got to showcase what they learned, and we 3D printed some awesome medals for them. So,
But that's so cool.
like I said, again, on the elementary level, but it was super fun for them to do and for us to showcase just how much they were learning.
Okay, so while we're at this point, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share my screen. So everybody
Sure.
bear with me. I've been doing the Zoom thing, especially as an adjunct professor myself at CSU Pueblo, and I still goon it up every time. So bear with
That's
me. It may
okay.
take a second or two, but I want to go ahead and play this. Okay, make sure I got sound. Let's see. Here we go.
Yep.
All
See it.
right. Good.
The Drone Olympics, this is the third year that we have done it. My students have been learning about drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, and the physics of flight. So today was to kind of celebrate and to show what the students have learned over the past several years. We had 8 different Olympic events that all relate to real-world applications with how drones are being used. And the students competed in each one of those events, and they had a great time.
It was really fun.
The guy that you see, that's our judge, and that's
My
the
favorite
person
part
who
was
introduced me to
flying
drones. He
Oh,
comes
I
back
think
every
the
year.
Olympics are fun. Like you still learn like how drones are being used in like real life, how they could be used.
There's those Legos.
So the students, each event simulated a real-world application. Like the one with the gauntlet, we talked about drones that intercept other drones that are in prohibited airspace. We had another one with the accuracy and precision challenge. So we talked about how Amazon is using Amazon Prime to start delivering packages. They're in the process right now of developing those things. We've also talked about other ones with like drones that are delivering life-saving equipment and things like that for people in need.
I didn't know they had like drone taxis, like construction drones. I used to think that drones were just kind of like toys and just kind of playing around and stuff.
We have been using drones in my classroom, created a whole drone curriculum that the kids have been learning. So today, the Drone Olympics, it kind of simulated them. The students actually kind of made their very own, their drone license. So they did all of the steps that someone would have to do in order to get an FAA drone license.
I loved learning the NATO phonetic alphabet. That was probably one of my favorite things that I learned. And then we learned all the terms of the different parts of the drones.
You get technology in the hands of kids and their attention span is right there with you. The kids walk in the classroom and they're like, are we flying drones today? What are we doing with technology? So it's completely natural for them. And I also, I want to reach them at a younger age so they know they're exposed to these things, especially being in Appalachia. We don't have the same experiences that, other kids in other areas in bigger cities do. And my big emphasis is to get girls into STEM, get them interested, and also just expose our students here because they're completely capable. But get the technology in the hands of the kids and let them learn and do awesome things with it.
So I think it would be fun to fly drones around, but you would still be helping people do everything. You could help people do stuff while having fun.
This whole curriculum that I've been doing with the students has impacted the community. Last year, my students, all the students that you saw today, they helped with the ABC America's Best Communities competition. The students actually helped make, they took some of the drone footage that was used in the final presentation with Huntington winning. We've been using all of the technology that we have and try to get it out into the community. You give them the opportunity to do that stuff, they really take charge and they do a great job.
It's so cute to see a lot of those kids now. So I said that was a few years ago. They're all they'll be a freshman in high school this year.
That is so exciting.
Really,
it just made my heart smile when he said, that little boy said, you can have fun and you can help people too. And just the way you are inspiring these kids to think that way. And as they go into high school, it's just so amazing. I think it's incredible.
Thank you.
So
there's one really cool thing I'd like to share with you about that. So those kids, you would not believe. So when I first started doing this, I had the students and I said, brainstorm, how do you think drones are going to be used in the future? And I still have some of their work. And those things are coming to pass now, which is really interesting. So these kids who are 11 years old came up with things that are happening now, like lifeguards using drones to help people in rip currents. I still have the work from several years ago before that was even a thing.
And
so
by the
really
way,
cool.
Meghan, I don't know if you realize that's Jackie Jamovic down in Australia. She's the one. Yes, she's the one that started, number one, the shark cam to spot the sharks, right? The great whites in Australia. And then they realized, hey, we can use this for lifeguards. And they're not only dropping life rafts to, swimmers in trouble, but the drones are actually, they're using it as a microphone to help calm them. Because it's in those first few seconds if people feel like they're just out there by themselves and nobody knows, they panic more and they're more likely to drown. So if there's a drone and a lifeguard can speak to this person and say, okay, just remain calm. We see you. We're coming. Take this. I mean, it's just incredible the things that they're doing with this.
Yeah.
So,
but it's so cool to see. I still have some of their work, and I was they came up with these ideas before it came to pass. So just the potential for these kids to get them interested in the technology, and hopefully they can, that's the big push, is I want to be hey, drones are not just used for spying or warfare. How can we use drones to help people? So that's my big push a lot of times for the kids.
Yeah, well, clearly it's resonating because that little boy said exactly that. I mean, that's so cool. So many, many successes on your part. We talked about some of your accolades, but what would you say is your greatest success with drones in the classroom?
I think my greatest success with drones in the classroom is probably being innovative with it. I never realized just how much of a unicorn, I guess you could say, I am in the field of drones, because people are, most people who use it in education are using it at the higher level, high school, even middle school. And very few people, I mean, it's becoming more prevalent now, but it is kind of hard to network with people who do it at the elementary level, because I think a lot of people think that students, when they're that young, they can't do it. But in reality, it's because more than likely we teachers are afraid to do it because it's something new. And it is difficult as a teacher to stand back and be like, hey, I might not be the expert on this. The students are more than likely the expert on the technology. So just being able to step out there and be like, okay, I can do this. This is uncertain. I don't really necessarily have a teacher's guide right now, but hey, let's do this together and let's create it. And I think that's meaningful for the kids too. You know, you stand up there and you're like, all right, we're probably going to fail at this. And that's something that I always emphasize to my kids. And they say, it's horrible. I say, I want you to fail. And they're like, what? That's horrible for a teacher to say. I said, no, I want you to fail because that's how you learn. And this is a classroom where you should feel safe to fail because we all do it. I'm going to do it in front of you. And that's how you learn. How many times have people failed? And then you build upon that. But if you're afraid to fail, you're not going to be innovative.
Well, or resilient. I
Yeah.
mean, because you're right. You, at some point in your life, whether it's in the classroom or outside, you're going to fail at something.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you can kind of look at that as a way to like, okay, I can learn from this and bounce back, you're lacking resilience. So that, especially in today's day and age, and with everything happening.
And sometimes it's very gifted or very difficult for gifted kids to fail because
Yeah,
they
it's so
have
hard
they
on
like
themselves.
or they're just like, I'm supposed to be the smartest, I'm supposed to be the best, I'm not supposed to fail. And that's something that I really emphasize with my kids. I'm just like, you know what, you've got to fail. And just being not afraid to take a risk and know that these kids know the technology probably better than you can. I mean, I don't know how many times I've sat and I've looked at it and I'm like, what is wrong here, and then I give a 9-year-old the drone, fix it. So it's really interesting just how innate it is, because they've been born like not I'm sorry, they've been using this technology since they've been little, and where I have not, they just intuitively know these things.
Yeah, they were born with iPads, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a whole different ballpark, a ball game than what we dealt with. So I know one of your greatest successes also was winning, being recognized as a woman
Yeah.
to watch, Women in Drones Global Award for Education in 2019. Obviously we were in the same class, and it's clearly life-changing for me. I created my company as a result of that award. How did that award change your life?
It changed my life because number one, I didn't realize just number one, how important drones can be in education. Number two, I've been able to network so much with so many people. So getting my name out there, I've been doing a lot of webinars with different organizations like InterDrone. I've been interviewed like Drone Life, and just getting your name out there, and then you're able to connect with so many people that are able to assist you or help you to make your program better. It was really cool to be able to work with Sharon Women in Drones, and I did some drone training in Salt Lake City a few years ago. So just being able to connect and network with other people who are doing the same things, it's a great opportunity to either build your program or just people that that are experts in their field.
I totally agree. I mean, that's why I'm the ambassador for the 5th anniversary of the award this year.
Yeah,
And
cool.
we are going to have some really exciting news coming up soon. We were going to have the event like we do every year at InterDrone, and because of the cancellation, we're working through some last minute hurdles, but I think we're going to have a big announcement in the next week or two. So everybody stand by. I'm really excited about it. We're hoping to still have a very live, very big public announcement of our award recipients for this year. And first year, we're able to give micro grants. I know, Megan, that money would have been useful to you. I know, frankly, it probably would have paid for me to start up my business, give that to LegalZoom.com.
Yeah.
But we're starting now with that, and I'm really excited. So thanks for that. And you're a great ambassador, clearly, for the award as well. So we talked about your accolades. We talked about your successes. What are some of the biggest challenges you face in introducing drones into the classroom?
I think one of the biggest challenges with introducing drones in the classroom was educating people I remember, trying to tell my principal or, other people, like, we're going to be flying drones in the classroom. Well, immediately you're thinking, what are the safety concerns? Are these drones going to chop up children? Am I going to have lawsuits on my hands? But, just being able to explain to people, hey, this is what we're doing. And we're not doing it to spy on people. I'm using this technology to create interest in the students and to teach all these different concepts. And I think that was why it was really important for me to have the portfolios for us to show exactly what the students were learning. And I think one of the other big challenges is there is a lot of stereotypes, especially in my area with, living in Appalachia. People automatically assume, oh, these people are stupid. No, they're not uneducated. Yes, there are some people everywhere like that, but also just emphasizing to my students that they can do these things if they want to. They are just as smart as kids anywhere else in the United States, wherever. They're capable. They might not have the same opportunities, but they're completely capable of doing those things. So I want to be a good ambassador for my kids to show them the types of things that I was not shown as a kid. I think I told you this earlier, but yeah, I grew up in a very small town, less than 2,000 people. It was a great town, but also I didn't know the types of things that I could do growing up. I didn't realize until I went to college that an engineer could be someone other than someone who works or drives a train. I had no idea. So just getting the technology out to the kids and showing them the types of things that they can do if they're interested in it, I think that's really important. And that was one of the biggest challenges. And also to emphasize to my girls, hey, you can do this better or just as good as the boys. One more thing that's really interesting is I love sitting back and watching my students, their problem solving and their thinking. So usually when I group the kids, they want to group boys versus girls. I don't know if it's just a competitive thing or what, but I love sitting back and watching the difference in how boys and girls learn. So I usually give them a project and the boys are always the first, bigger, better, faster. Okay. What's funny is they end up ultimately failing because they don't really, a lot of times boys, they're not afraid to fail. Girls, you have such a stereotype with girls. A lot of times they sit back and they watch the boys fail. Then they fix what the boys did wrong and they end up getting the competition, like winning the competition. So it's really interesting because the girls are like, maybe I should make it bigger, better, bolder. Let me just make it better.
That is
Interesting.
That is funny. That is funny. So many, like I said, you've accomplished so much. What tips would you give to others who hope to achieve what you've achieved? Like being successful in the classroom, you created your own curriculum. What tips would you give them?
Just pretty much just start small because it can be overwhelming, especially if you you don't have curriculum in your hands, because that's very scary for a teacher. I think there is some out there that you can get, but again, funding, where you can get the funding to get that. But that is very scary as a teacher not to have that teacher's guide in front of you with the answers. So I think it's very important just to, again, as a teacher, not be afraid to fail and understand that it's going to be a work in progress, but the kids are into it so much, it's okay. They will, because they love doing it so much, it's a great behavior incentive, because if you have a kid that's misbehaving, I tell them, you're grounded. They're like, I'm grounded. Yeah, you're grounded. You cannot fly a drone for a while. It fixes it. So don't worry about the behavior issues with the kids, because just getting those drones out, they will do just about anything you want. You can trick them into learning.
Well, it's a great carrot, right? To have out
Yes.
there, like, hey, you have this opportunity. If you focus, if you research this aspect, then you'll get to fly it. So that's really awesome. So I know you have a couple goals, like for this coming year, fall of 2021, and hopefully everybody's going to be in person again, and beyond. So tell me maybe your top 3 goals, just kind of in the short term.
So goal number 1 is to hopefully start getting back to normal. This has been so rough. COVID has been so rough on everyone. Kids, I just can't even imagine what it's like. Teachers, it's been horrible. Everyone's been thrown into this stuff, but students, especially younger kids, they need that one-on-one being in the classroom. It is so difficult to keep these kids' attention, or it's not even developmentally appropriate for a 7-year-old to sit in front of a computer all day. So I really hope that we can get back in person with the kids in the classroom and using these drones, because I tried flying some drones virtually and it was a complete disaster. So hopefully getting back to normal. Some other goals that I have probably is to start drones with younger students. So I teach 1st through 5th grade, and I really focus with my 5th graders because that's like their big project. But I'd like it to get it in the hands of the younger students. I have been integrating it with even my 1st graders, and they fly just as well as the 5th graders. And third, I have a few exceptionally gifted students this year that I'd like to do it with. So when I say exceptionally gifted, they are gifted, but they might also have autism. So I think that would be really cool to see these students who don't really have a disability, but they learn differently, to be able to use that technology with them. So hopefully we can get back to more of a normal state and really get drones back into my classroom again, because I really missed it. Really.
No doubt. You said so many things I want to just kind of dovetail on a little bit. Number one, Jason Sansucci's got, and Nicole Corder, co-founders of Neurodiversity Works, and they focus on STEM education for neurodiverse students and young adults, meaning with autism and things like that. So they're doing great things. I wanted to kind of give that shout out, because I agree, they just have a different way of thinking, but they can,
but brilliant.
Just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't think about things like that.
Yeah. And when I say disability, in West Virginia, gifted education falls underneath the special education realm. So a lot of times people think disability, but it's not. It's just that if you're getting a individualized education, gifted kids need that individualized education. So that is why it's considered special education in West Virginia.
Well, honestly, when we were in Southern Virginia, I had that challenge with my 4th grader, where he was so bored because he'd finished stuff in like 10 minutes that it took all the other kids an hour to do, like a math problem, that he was getting in trouble. And I finally went to the principal and I said, you have to figure something out. He is, you have special education, you need to bring, and that's when they brought in that NASA rocket scientist. It was a retiree. And he taught my son and one other kid. Like I said, they were doing statistics in 4th grade.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of kids who are referred because of behavior problems, or kids that have, they think, learning disabilities, and then they test them and they're like, this kid is really gifted. Yeah. But very true. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to mention, you did this drone Olympics, which is incredible. Just wanted to also give a shout out for folks out there. This Saturday, actually, July 31st, here in Colorado, they're doing the Rocky Mountain State Games, which is like the Olympics, right? Just all these athletic competitions. For the first year, they're actually incorporating U.S. drone soccer. And so all the Colorado teams, all the kids, because this is where it's starting, they're going to compete. So I'm going to be out there representing U.S. Colorado in that hat and supporting U.S. drone soccer this weekend. And like you said, Megan, I mean, the kids build those drones, they code them. They fly them and they compete, and they're so excited about it. So I can't wait to be there live and be a part of that. Boy, there was one other thing I wanted to dovetail on that you said, and now, gosh, I wish I had written it down, and I don't remember, but all great stuff, okay, let's see. We are running short on time, and I want to be respectful of your time and everybody else's here. So let's see. Do you have any closing comments for the group? Anything you want to provide them to recommend where they go to get more information, or just words of encouragement?
Yes, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions for anybody. I can put my email in the chat if you have any questions about starting a drone program, or most importantly, successes and failures. I have talked to several people who have been like, hey, I'm interested in starting a drone program. What can you tell me that like your failures that you you're just like, oh, I'm not going to make the same mistake. Because a lot of times if someone's already been there, don't reinvent the wheel. I tell my people I've talked to, I'm like, make sure you do this, 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 and this, because I made that mistake, so you don't need to make that mistake. So if anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer anything about grant writing, or just how to implement and integrate drones in your classroom, regardless of level, or even after school programs, anything like that. I'd be more than happy to.
I know what I wanted to say, because you just reminded me this idea of, other teachers asking you about it. And you'd mentioned STEAM, even arts, and kind of incorporating drones in other aspects, not just straight up like, science, right? Classes. So cross-disciplinary. And, I did want to mention that I actually have a book coming out. It's not for elementary, but you know what, Megan, it's something that actually an elementary school teacher could read and understand. And then, even if they're teaching history, because I start with the Constitution and the foundations of our country and our 3 branches of government, and then take aviation law from there and discuss the drone industry and where it's going in this book. And I'm doing that through Unmanned Safety Institute. It should be live as of 1 September, digitally, and then the hard copies will come out in the mid-fall. So really excited for that. Love to get a copy in your hands. And
that'd be awesome.
I think it'll be inspirational, because it is such a cross-disciplinary, cross-functional book. Written kind of at that high school level, but for college, high school, middle school, who knows? I'd love to get your perspective on it, and
Sure.
maybe even modify it in the future to take that whole program to that level for those kids that you're talking about. Well, I think we're about out of time. I see, some folks out there, and like I said, this is bittersweet for me, because this is our last episode of the Drones at Dawn podcast. It's been such a privilege and an honor to have worked with Interdrone for Interdrone support on this podcast. I'll be transitioning, and Interdrone knows about this, obviously, and we still have a wonderful relationship. It's just, there's, with every ending comes a new beginning. And so I'm really excited to announce our new podcast. It's going to be anchored and promoted by dronelife.com. You just mentioned Drone Life a little bit earlier, Megan. I'm a regular contributor to their print, and now I'm going to be doing a podcast in conjunction with them. It's going to be called The Dawn of Drones, and it's going to be every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So we're going to kick it off next Wednesday, August 4th, 11 a.m. Eastern, and our first guest is going to be Luke Fox of White Fox Defense. He is sponsoring, White Fox is sponsoring the month, and it's going to be called Impactful Use Cases. So I'm really excited. And Megan, these are some things that maybe your kids, those videos will be available on my YouTube channel, Drone Life's channel, all over the place. We're going to be beaming this thing everywhere. But that's something you may want to at least take snippets of, because we're going to be talking in that first month about wildland firefighting and drone disinfecting of stadiums and public arenas, and likely also drone deliveries. So it's going to be an exciting, and of course counter drone, which I think you mentioned in your Olympics even. So that's going to be exciting, and can't wait to do that, but more to follow. And just again, in closing, I really wanted to thank Interdrone for their support. It's been such an amazing run and relationship, and I hope we get to work together in the future. And this has been just so incredible for me. And for everybody out there, all those legacy Drones at Dawn podcasts are still going to be on the Interdrone Launchpad. They're still on my YouTube channel, and consider joining my Patreon community if you haven't yet, because I have all of my videos up there, some bonus podcast footage where I get the wisdom, life wisdom of my guests. And my blog is up behind there as well. So that's not publicly available. That's just for my community. So I guess that's all she wrote. Like I said, I want to give a special thank you to Leslie Wolf. She's behind the scenes right now. She's been a real, I'll call it, God, I'm going to get emotional. Yeah, she's been a real sister to me. And yeah, this is hard. But all right. Well, thank you, everybody out here. Have a great
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.